Why does a region as affluent as Maryland abandon multitudes to sidewalks fighting both housing loss and a lethal fentanyl surge? In Baltimore's alleys where spirit wanes like a fading lantern, actual citizens, seniors, households, soldiers are sacrificing everything.
Welcome to Baltimore life, the drug life. The monkey dust and all of that stuff.
With Baltimore, man, where dreams come true and dreams can be lost. It's up to you and the people you be around.
In 2025, Maryland's unhoused figures are lower yet climbing leases, and a peaking narcotic disaster depict a bleaker reality. This film delves into the core of the conflict-blending narratives of grief with firm statistics and daring remedies. What is required to rescue these souls back from the brink? Enter us to examine Maryland's battle and determine if empathy and creativity can spark the path ahead. The Global View Unhoused Status in Maryland during 2025. Maryland, a land of riches and potential, contains a sharp paradox. Thousands of its locals possess no spot to name home. Per the 2024 point-in-time PIT tally by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD, nearly 6,069 folks are unhoused in Maryland, a 28% drop from 2015. Though this advancement is significant, it hides further complications. The homeless in America, specifically Maryland, encounter distinct local difficulties. In Baltimore, the heart of the emergency, between 1,600 and 2,669 people rest on the pavement or in refuges, every dusk representing 50–60% of the region's entire displaced group. Prince George's County trails as another flashpoint where financial strains and scarce low-cost residences worsen the matter. Furthermore, a shocking pattern has appeared. The displaced group is graying quickly. From 2018 through 2024, the count of destitute persons aged 65 and up jumped by 77%, fueled by what specialists label the silver tsunami, an expanding senior community exceeding communal welfare nets. This age shift, coupled with Maryland's steep price of life, depicts a worrying image. Plus 80–85% of the state's indigent are roofless, residing on lanes or in derelict zones, placing Maryland fourth in the country for this tally. This large roofless percentage mirrors a structural breakdown to offer sufficient shelter and help, especially for those battling persistent problems like psychiatric conditions or narcotic dependency. To make this info vivid, envision a digital chart showing Baltimore's makeshift camps shining crimson against the urban map. Such graphics linked with current debates on sites like X show communal irritation and compassion. Lately shared by Baltimore neighbors describe clusters around gardens scattered with syringes and show rage over mounting offenses linked to indigence. These remarks, blunt and honest, highlight the desperation of tackling homelessness in America, where Maryland's narrative is both singular and linked to a larger federal battle. Still, the figures merely recount portion of the saga. Underneath every data point is a human, a soldier, a parent, a senior whose existence has been shattered by powers frequently outside their grip. As we dig further, the query starts: what does it signify to be unseen in a culture that honors itself on growth? The truth rests in the accounts of those surviving on the edges.
Been in Baltimore all my life, all 53 years. I love it here, but also I hate it here.
reason why I hated it, at 35 years old, I was introduced to hard drugs.
Personalities of the emergency mortal narratives behind the statistics. Displacement isn't merely a digit, it's a social catastrophe carved into the looks of those who roam Maryland's lanes. Reflect on James, a 70-year-old soldier in Baltimore. Formerly a scholar who molded youthful brains, he currently crouches under a freeway bridge, his funds exhausted by clinic costs, and his heart crushed by fentanyl habits. His account isn't rare. The aged, a rising portion of the homeless in America encounter specific frailties. Mounting medical bills and poor retirement aid drive many into destitution, where one mistake like a wound or dependency can result in the sidewalks. Then there is Maria, a solo parent in Prince George's County battling a $2,000 monthly lease she can't sustain on her basic pay career. Her kids trapped in the flux risk, falling into the identical cycle of indigence and contact with narcotics like fentanyl, which soak their vicinity. For those with lifelong displacement like David, a man in his 40s fighting schizophrenia and fentanyl reliance, the alleys grant no relief. He mentions taking substances to silence the sounds in my brain, a brief comfort that worsens his seclusion. To record these existences, envision a brief film snippet, James sorting through his items in the gray dawn, Maria protecting her youth from the shelter's mess, David gazing vacantly at a town that fails to see him. These portrayals paired with their remarks might hit home with spectators personalizing the disaster. On Ex-Marylander's post, similar accounts chronicles of neighbors lost to narcotics or households ousted after one skipped installment. These reports show a public split between pity and irritation, with some calling the indigent a tax while others push for transformation. This split poses a vital query. How can we close the space between mercy and deed when many are fighting to exist? The chronicles of James, Maria, and David aren't unique. They mirror a wider breakdown in fixing the basic origins of displacement and its link with dependency. To grasp this emergency completely, we must scrutinize the pressures pushing individuals to the brink. The fentanyl tempest, a lethal complication. In Maryland, displacement is not a solitary problem. It is intertwined with a fatal narcotic emergency driven by fentanyl. This artificial substance, inexpensive and strong, has turned into a plague, taking souls and intensifying the misery of those already on the fringes. In 2024, the Maryland Department of Health noted nearly 2,000 overdose fatalities tied to narcotics, with fentanyl causing the bulk. The homeless in America, specifically in Maryland, are unevenly hit as their lack of entry to medical care and fixed housing renders them prone to dependency and its results.
It takes all the pain away, and it's the physical and mental, emotional pain, all of it takes everything away. And that's what you chase, that feeling that nothing can hurt you, it all just feels too good.
Fentanyl's hold is unyielding. Often added to other substances without people's knowledge, it ensnares persons like James, who used it after a script for narcotics spiraled out of hand. For the unhoused, the substance grants a brief retreat from the brutal truths of lane existence, hunger, cold, and dread, but at a ruinous price.
My life's messed up. I can never get a normal life, and I believe that my whole life. I know I'll never live a normal life because I don't even know what it feels like to live a normal life.
About 20 to 25% of Maryland's permanently displaced group battles with narcotic use ailments, with fentanyl being a chief cause. Clinic visits and persistent health problems among this set have peaked, taxing an already stretched medical structure. Past its bodily damage, fentanyl drives a cruel loop. Dependency results in job deprivation, eviction, and distance thrusting more folks into displacement. Once on the sidewalks, the lack of entry to rehab, only 15% of displaced persons with fentanyl habits get help hooks them in a circle of reliance. In Baltimore, the narcotic market also drives felony, with rings taking advantage of weak groups, making existence even more risky for the roofless. Updates from locals recount lanes filled with syringes and dread of harm, emphasizing how fentanyl's impact reaches past users to whole towns. To map this emergency, imagine a blunt visual, a chart plotting a human's fall from safety to displacement with fentanyl as the breaking point. This might be joined by a spoken narrative, perhaps in the vein of a visual story depicting a person's battle to escape from dependency. The story would highlight a dark truth. Fentanyl is not merely a substance. It is a ghost that obscures the way to healing. As we ponder this, we must inquire, what optimism can Maryland provide when dependency and displacement sustain each other so ruinously? Fundamental origins, the reason displacement and fentanyl endure. The unhoused emergency in Maryland worsened by fentanyl is established in a tangle of financial, communal, and governmental breakdowns. At its center is the region's residence crisis. The typical lease in Maryland, lingering between $1,800 and $2,000 monthly, greatly outpaces what a base rate worker at $15 hourly can afford. According to the 2025 Housing Needs Assessment by Maryland's Department of Housing and Community Development (DHCD), the region suffers a deficit of 200,000 low-cost housing units. This shortage leaves low-pay households like Maria's wobbling on the brink of eviction with scant room for error. Social elements further intensify the disaster. The graying community, specifically those past 65, encounters rising hurdles as pension funds vanish and medical costs climb. For many, one clinic crisis or trust in medical narcotics can result in dependency and displacement. Psychiatric ailments affecting 20 to 25% of the long-term unhoused frequently remain unaddressed, with fentanyl providing a risky but reachable survival tool. The homeless in America, including Maryland, are stuck in a framework that neglects to offer fit mental health or dependency aid, leaving them to steer a broken safety net. Policy failures worsen these concerns. National funding reductions in 2025 endanger money for both residents and dependency cure efforts, with Maryland's Refuge Network fulfilling just 16% of the call. The region's Continuum of Care COC initiative built to align housing and aid battles with restricted assets. Meanwhile, the narcotic crisis led by fentanyl swamped rehab centers. The absence of reachable medication-assisted treatment (MAT) and permanent care choices signifies many, like David, stay stuck in dependency. To frame this uniquely, view displacement and fentanyl as a twin tempest striking Maryland's most fragile. This analogy reflects the tension of financial weight and a communal health disaster where one sustains the other in a harsh loop. Facts from HUD and DHCD could be shown as a moving map depicting how rising leases graying groups and narcotic deaths merge to cause displacement. On Marylanders air their worries about these systemic breakdowns, with some blaming city leadership delay and others demanding sharp changes. These remarks remind us that fixes must target both the structural and mortal facets of this emergency. Halting the loop creative fixes for a twin emergency. As Maryland battles the linked disasters of displacement and fentanyl, classic methods alone will not work. The region requires bold, fresh fixes that target both the lack of residents and the narcotic plague directly. One hopeful concept is the building of joined neighborhoods such as small house towns linked with on-site dependency rehab hubs. Inspired by setups like those in Seattle, these spots could offer firm housing for the homeless in America while providing entry to medication-assisted treatment MAT for those fighting fentanyl habits. Envision lines of small, respectable houses in Baltimore, every local aided by mentors and clinic staff mending their lives one phase at a time. Such a plan could act as a signal of light, halting the loop of dependency and displacement. Innovation also provides shifting power. Smart software could be used to guess at-risk people, those nearing eviction or first markers of narcotic reliance by checking fiscal and clinic data. Maryland could test such a framework spotting folks like Maria before they forfeit their residences. Plus, converting Baltimore's thousands of empty units into shared living zones could fix the residence gap. These areas run by charities could mix low-cost lease with peer aid, building a sense of kinship for locals like James. A moving visual for our film could depict a fast view of an empty house changing into a lively healing center, marking rebirth. Public bonding is just as crucial. Maryland could start a regional day of homelessness and fentanyl awareness, mixing classes, charity, and accounts to stir communal aid. Picture a scene of helpers giving assets locals, telling narratives, and nearby firms offering roles for mending persons. On X, Marylanders have asked for such moves with some backing corporate alliances to fund residence or rehab plans. For example, a tech firm in Bethesda could back job skills for the former Unhoused, helping them regain balance. These tasks, though minor, could spread outward, altering public views and sparking group effort. Legal shifts must support these changes. Boosting state funds for low-cost residents and widening entry to MAT are vital moves. Maryland's Department of Housing and Community Development, DHCD, predicts a demand for 200,000 low-cost units, a gap that needs fast funding. Likewise, growing efforts like healthcare for the homeless, which offers free clinic aid to 30,000 folks yearly, could link fentanyl rehab into its tools. A map in our film could show the funding gap, comparing current funds with the assets needed to hit demand. Further pushing for national aid despite 2025 funding cuts stays vital to keep plans like the Continuum of Care COC. Gazing ahead, Maryland could lead a grand drive, zero homelessness, zero fentanyl deaths by 2030. This lofty goal would unite leaders, towns, and groups to have displacement and narcotic deaths within 5 years. By mixing residents' health care and town-led fixes, Maryland could provide a federal model. The query stays, can we find the grit to turn thought into fact, or will red tape and neglect fade this light? The way forward needs bravery, vision, and a vow to honoring the soul in every human on the sidewalks. An individual contemplation, perceiving the gloom. As an observer who has researched Maryland's struggles, I feel myself chilled by the individuals behind the figures. Strolling through Baltimore's lanes, I viewed the tired gazes of folks like James, holding frayed covers beneath a span, and sensed the hushed misery in accounts like Maria's, a parent striving to protect her youth. The fentanyl emergency specifically touches a private string. A peer once forfeited a kin to a narcotic overdose, a disaster that started with one bottle and finished in a clinic ward. That grief showed me that dependency does not differentiate. It may take anyone, particularly those already crushed by life's trials. What upsets me highest is the stillness masking these emergencies. Maryland's success hides the agony of its highest fragile, and very frequently, we look aside shaming the unhoused or the hooked for their state. Still, their narratives show structural breakdowns, soaring leases, poor medical care, and a culture that fails to look after its graying and sick. I trust Maryland may perform better. By adopting fresh shelter and rehab types, we can provide honor to those who've been ignored. This film is my push to deed a request to spot the gloom beneath our city lamps and to serve with mercy. We cannot fix homelessness or fentanyl solo, but collectively we can ignite the path. Epilogue, a beacon at the path's end. Maryland's displacement and fentanyl emergencies are intimidating, but they aren't invincible. The region's growth slashing unhoused figures by 28% since 2015 proves transformation is attainable. However, the surge of fentanyl and a graying indigent community demand fast deed. Through fresh residents, broader rehab, and communal grit, Maryland can create a tomorrow where nobody rests on the sidewalks or yields to dependency. Contact DHCD at dhcd.maryland.gov or Maryland's Narcotic Helpline to become active. Post this film with peers to increase awareness regarding Maryland's emergency. As we finish Query Yourself, what can you perform to provide light to those in the gloom?